Welcome back to Beauty Uncovered by Olaplex. This is Danielle Frank, your host, and it's Thursday, so it's coffee time. And I am here prepared with my Starbucks. And today we have a friend of the podcast. It's Sandy, who is written into Beauty Uncovered at Olaplex.com and was telling us about the episode December 6th. When was the last time you checked your hormones with Dr. Tara Scott and her experience with it? Welcome to the podcast, Sandy.
Thank you, Danielle. That was I love all the podcasts, but that one really resonated with me.
I really know. Did. I loved what you wrote. So you had listened to this one. Now you were talking a little bit about some of your experiences with really honing in on your hormonal health. What was it about the podcast that really resonated with you?
Well, I'm going to be 68 in May. So all the way back when I was 38, I started through perimenopause. So you're talking 30 years ago, and there was very, very little information out there then. And I had a great GYN who, he listened to me, and he kind of worked along with a compounding pharmacist to come up with, some hormones for me. And I truly am so glad that it's so much more in the forefront now. Not as much as it should be, because you figure this was 30 years ago.
Wow,
you would think in 30 years it would have gotten a lot further than it is now. But I don't want to have anybody overlook the importance of it, because replacement is very specific to the individual.
It's interesting because, with perimenopause, I think a lot of people get it mixed up with actual menopause. I mean, perimenopause can actually start in your 30s. I know for me, it started a lot later. It was my late 40s, but it when you're going through it, a lot of people are like, oh, you're in menopause. Not really. It's the first signs and symptoms of it. And I don't think people realize it can start that young in your 30s. Some people, it's even younger.
Well, yeah, really. And I think now, because of, we're seeing like your guest had said, you're seeing kids, younger women starting their periods sooner, and that they're probably going to start it sooner. Now, mine went from age 38 to 50 before I quit having periods altogether. So it was a rough 12 years. And they say that a lot of it has to do with maybe if your mother had issues with, going through menopause. And I also didn't know that we don't go through menopause. Menopause is the last phase, and you're in it for the rest of your life. I kind of didn't know that, but I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia also. And during that time, the fibromyalgia was absolutely horrible. And I think of how many women, it might be more hormonally driven, some of the aches and pains that you're going through, during that time.
And I do feel that episode was definitely one of those episodes that I was having a lot of aha moments, admittedly, where, because I think that a lot of us are not as well informed. I don't know if it's that we're just told what to do. Did you find when you went to your doctor in your 30s, did you just go them with some symptoms and they're like, hey, this sounds like that? Or were you someone that was doing your research beforehand?
No, this was during that time when Suzanne Summers was really out there with all the, get your hormones replaced. And she kind of came up against some naysayers. I was lucky that my doctor listened to me, and he says, as long as you bring me, because he admitted he didn't know much about it. They don't teach about it in school. He said, if I brought him information about it, that he would delve into it, as long as it was not just, it was, documented kind of thing. So he actually, we found a compounding pharmacist in the area here that he said that he would work along with this compounding pharmacist by giving him, you have to have your blood work done because your needs would be different than mine, and so on and so forth. So he took my blood work, went to the compounding pharmacist, and he helped teach the doctor also what to do. So that was very, very nice. I told my doctor back then, get on board with this, because this is going to be big come in the future. And he was not full of himself enough to not listen to me. And I really appreciated him listening to me. So I was on the bioidenticals through a compounding pharmacist for quite a few years. And then my doctor actually found a bioidentical that was, when I say manufactured, it was not compounded by a pharmacist, but yet it was still all natural ingredients, because you want the difference between the bioidenticals. What I found is your body recognizes that molecule because it's the natural molecule, where what they gave women years ago with like the Premarin, I think it was called that, it was made from horse urine and whatnot. It was synthetic. So your body had to try to, it's like, hey, there's a new molecule here. What do we do with it? But the bioidenticals are what your body recognizes. So there's, and they can be given in such a low dose.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got to admit, it opened up a lot of conversations where I actually do want to like delve more deeply into it. Like, I kind of want to like see what other experts that we can find that can talk to it, because that was an episode that I got a lot of feedback from. A lot of people were very surprised or interested in the information that was on there. So like, if we were to find someone else, like what kind of like person would you want to find? Like, who would you want to hear from? What kind of topic?
There are actually now doctors out there that this is what they specifically specialize in. And nurse practitioners, that this is their entire practice, is just helping with hormone replacement. In fact, even though I'm going to be 68 coming up, my sister, who is 70, still, she had a total hysterectomy at 28. She just went the other day and got a pellet that they put into your body that disperses, just not unlike some of the birth control that they have. And she gets a little bit of testosterone. That's another thing that you don't hear a lot about is, oh, women don't need it. Well, we do produce it. Right. And we do need some of it, just not as much as a man. So I think you could definitely find some specialists out there that just, in fact, I've done so much research, I'll email you, a few people that you might want to reach out to. That sounds good.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
You might want to reach out to, in fact, one of my clients, who's I think 40 now, actually is going to a doctor over in PA that's going to be helping her with this. And she sent me the link to that. So and you can do some of this online, is provided that you go and get your blood work, of course, but that doctor can access that blood work. You don't have to be one-on-one with them, because you're not going to find specialists in your area. Like, the closest person to me that would be considered a specialist is probably at least an hour drive away.
I have to admit, afterwards, I was looking up specialists within my insurance. It wasn't until I started looking for doctors that don't accept insurance. Those are the ones that I was finding. It was really interesting. And she mentioned that on there too, that's a high possibility. I know that's what she did with her practice as well.
Now, I'm sure that you could probably at least get now mine was paid for when I was going. And then when my husband lost his job and he was off for a while and we didn't have the insurance, it jumped to $400 a month, which I then weaned myself off. And otherwise I would still be on it. And I am going to reach out, but I would assume that as long as your GYN or even your just family doctor, medical doctor would okay the blood work, then you could take it from there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. So was there anything that you heard on there that seemed like completely like, oh, I didn't know that? Or were you like, girl, I got this? Or
no, not really, because there was not a lot there that I hadn't. It kind of reiterated what I had already studied up on and knew, but she shed light on it that has not been shed, it was nice that you got to shed light on it with her, so to speak.
I was grateful for it too, because like I said, it is definitely kind of stunning when I think about it, because you don't think about it, that throughout our entire lives, from the time that we're starting our menstrual cycle all the way to when it ends, there's so many hormonal fluctuations throughout our lives, and whether it be through pregnancy or just everyday life stuff. but yet I knew so little about what it really does for you. And also thinking that these symptoms were not necessarily normal. They were just common. And that really hit me hard because you're constantly, well, yeah, no, that's common. That's normal, they would say, but really it's not. It's just common. And that, I think that is a bill of goods that I think a lot of women have taken for many, many years.
Well, I know when I got different books and stuff, and what helped me was to see that there is, if you would watch where your estrogen and your progesterone line up throughout the month and where they are far apart as far as how much is running through your system at the time, it will shed an entire different light on, oh my gosh, that's why I feel really good for those 2 or 3 days out of the month. And this is why I am sore, psycho, where we have those, like, we don't like ourselves and our families maybe not real thrilled with us easy. When you eat it, is when you see how they interact. That was mind-boggling. I remember showing my husband a booklet, and I pointed to the graph. I says, that's why I'm like that at this time of month right here. I could point to the calendar. And he took the book, and kind of being silly, he handed it back to me after he penciled something in, and he penciled a little hangman with a noose and pointed it and said me. That was like him being, wanting to hang himself at that time of month. He was being silly. And he's the nicest guy ever, but, he was kind of saying, like, yeah, that's a tough time of the month for everybody in the household.
Wow.
But it really showed you why we do feel differently throughout the whole month. I wish everybody could see that graph. It was unbelievable. And you could probably find something on the computer, of course.
I bet. Well, it's amazing what we can find on the computer these days, right?
Big time.
Well, I am so grateful that you tune in and that you're listening to our podcast. And I'm glad that you agreed to come on here. This was so much fun.
Thank you. I love, and like I said, I emailed, and it's like, I wanted to say, oh my God, I love a lot of your podcasts. I love them all, but that one really resonated with me. So I appreciate that. I really appreciate it. Now I'll send you a couple names of a few people you can reach out to.
Please do. Like I said, I'm always up for good suggestions for sure. And I agree. It's definitely a topic that we should expand on and learn more about because, hey, it's a big part of our lives as women, right?
And if it can help other women out there, I think it's fabulous that it's coming to the forefront. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for sharing your story. I bet you helped a lot of people today. Thank you.
I hope so. Thanks.